Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into SAP HANA. Its biggest strength is that incredible in-memory speed, but that also creates a pretty big challenge. How do you balance that performance with cost? So how do you keep things lightning fast without, breaking the bank? Let's explore the really clever solutions SAP has built to do exactly that.
First up, we'll unpack that high-performance dilemma. Then we'll look at the solution in two main parts: smart storage using data tiering and connecting the data universe through acquisition. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together to optimize the entire data lifecycle.
Okay, let's get right into it. The whole magic of SAP HANA is its in-memory database, right? It puts your entire data set right next to the CPU for incredibly fast processing. But, and here's the catch, that memory is the most expensive part of the whole system. This creates this constant tension between getting peak performance and staying within budget.
And that brings us to the big question that I'm sure is on your mind. If speed is everything, why not just load up on memory and store everything there? Well, the simple answer is cost. For most organizations, only a tiny fraction of their data is actually hot, meaning it's being used all the time. It just doesn't make any financial sense to store years and years of old data in that premium, high-speed memory.
The solution to this whole dilemma is a strategy called data tiering. Now, think of it as intelligent storage management. The basic idea is to classify your data by its temperature, how often it's accessed, and then place it on the storage tier that gives you the perfect balance of performance and cost.
So, what does this concept of data temperature actually look like inside the SAP HANA world? It's really all about putting the right data in the right place at the right time. Let's break down what these different tiers actually are.
SAP HANA organizes data across three really distinct tiers. You've got the hot tier for your mission-critical, frequently accessed data. Then there's the warm tier for data you still need online, but maybe you don't access it quite as often. And finally, you have the cold tier, which is perfect for historical or archival data that you rarely touch, but still need to have available somewhere.
And this is where it gets really practical. Just look at how each temperature maps directly to a specific technology. Hot data lives in the fastest in-memory tech, things like DRAM and persistent memory. Warm data, that gets moved to a persistence layer, which is managed by tools like NSDE. And cold data, that goes off to external, low-cost archives managed by something like SAP IQ.
So the hot tier, this is all about pure velocity. It uses the fastest memory you can get, a mix of traditional DRAM and the newer persistent memory, or PM. Now, PM is a real game changer because it's cheaper than DRAM and it actually holds on to data even if the power goes out. And the best part, SAP HANA is smart enough to manage all of that for you automatically.
The warm tier, that's your crucial middle ground. The data is still online and accessible, but it's on more affordable storage like an SSD. SAP gives you a couple of ways to handle this. There's the native storage extension, or NSE, which is built right in and uses a smart cache. Or there's dynamic tiering, which is a bit different. It's a component that lets you actually split a single table across both hot and warm storage.
And finally, we have the cold tier, which is basically a deep archive for all that historical data. The number one goal here is the absolute lowest possible storage cost. Data gets moved to external systems like SAP IQ or even out to data lakes. But, and this is really key, it stays queryable by your SAP HANA applications. It's out of the way, but it's never out of reach.
Okay, so we figured out where to store our data based on its temperature. But that's only half the story. The other critical piece of the puzzle is how we get data into HANA in the first place, or how we access data that lives in all these other systems across our company.
Data acquisition really boils down to two fundamental strategies. First, you have data virtualization. This lets you query data right where it is, without ever moving it. You just create a virtual pointer to that remote source. Then you have data replication. This is the opposite. It involves creating a physical copy of the data inside SAP HANA and then making sure that copy stays up to date. And of course, SAP gives us a whole specialized toolkit for these jobs. If you want to virtualize your data, your go-to tool is going to be Smart Data Access, or SDA. For that real-time copying we talked about, you'll use the SAP LT Replication Server, or SLT. And for more complex transformations and data quality stuff, there's the whole Enterprise Information Management Suite.
Smart Data Access is just fantastic for data federation. It lets you create these virtual tables inside HANA that look and feel just like local tables, but they're actually pointing to data in a completely remote system. This is so powerful because you get a single unified view of all your data without the cost and complexity of physically having to move it all.
But what if you need that real-time, physical copy of the data? Well, that's exactly where SLT comes in. It works by placing a trigger on the source database. The moment a record changes, that trigger fires, and SLT instantly transfers that update over to SAP HANA. This is how you make sure your analytics are always based on the absolute latest information.
So now we have the two major pieces of the puzzle, right? We have smart storage through tiering, and we have intelligent data access through acquisition. The real power, though, well, that comes when you combine them to manage the entire data lifecycle from start to finish. And really, that's the core idea. You can't just focus on one piece of this puzzle. An optimized data landscape requires you to think about both where your data lives and how it's accessed. You can think of them as two sides of the very same coin. So when you put it all together, the strategy becomes crystal clear. You use data tiering to control your costs, making sure you only pay a premium for the data that truly needs that top-tier performance. And at the same time, you use data acquisition tools to make sure that no matter which tier your data happens to be on, it's always available to the business precisely when they need it. Ultimately, all of SAP HANA's data management tools are designed to help you answer a critical set of questions. Is your data in the right place, at the right time, and for the right cost? Getting that balance just right? Well, that's the difference between a data landscape that's just powerful and one that's truly intelligent.